standing before dignitaries. Please can you look to your neighbor and tell them what you think about them on first look, and how you can make that a narrative identity. I have a few slides, and if you wouldn't mind, please follow me. On the bus yesterday on my way home, I saw a lady who was out. She had been out drinking, and she was going to her house, and she was on a bus 1C. I entered the bus, I saw that she had been sleeping. She sat at the corner, and she kept sleeping all through. And the bus was going towards Drum Chapel, had passed several bus stops, and she was sleeping quietly. Somewhere at the corner of my mind, I literally thought she had passed out. But then, as the bus swayed, I noticed she moved her fingers, so I knew she was awake and she was alive. She was just in between sleep. And then suddenly someone stood up and said, "Oh, use the F word, and will you wake up?" And then she stood up, and then she slumped on the bus. The first thing that will come to mind is someone who is unpurposeful, who is careless, who is a drunk. However, we know little of the encounters of such an individual on a day-to-day basis. We don't even know who the person is. However, we have projected an identity. When someone meets a Nigerian, the first thing they tell you, I go online every day, oh, fraudsters, criminals, people who are lockstar in attitude. But you have an identity. You know who you are. Now, narratives are projected. Identities are owned. You can project what you think about a person on the person. Doesn't matter what you say, criminal, intelligent, beautiful. If the person does not have a sense of belonging, it doesn't become an identity. As soon as you take ownership of what is projected, it becomes a narrative identity. So I'm going to be talking about how to build a narrative identity. Because it is very crucial to understand that a narrative identity is what distinguishes you from what is projected on you. Without a sense of identity or a story built for yourself, whatever is projected upon you is what becomes your identity. Recently, I went on Threads and I saw something. The man said, "What do you think of Nigerians?" And the South African went there and said, "Oh, drug lords." Some other person went there and said, "Criminals, cyber criminals." Another person went there and said, "Oh, intelligence bunch." And then I wrote on the thread, a Nigerian is what he or she perceives herself to be. Nigerians are bold, and so it's easy to call us, people who just like to fight or are aggressive. Nigerians are innovative, and that's why we thrive in every sphere of business. However, as any community is, there are people who stand out as bad eggs amongst the few, found in every community. But a Nigerian is who he or she says he is. I'm going to be analyzing Michael Porter's five factors in identifying how you can build a narrative identity. Don't forget, I said narratives are projected, and I said identities are owned. But you can actually have a narrative identity based on your desire. There are 5 points, key factors that Michael Porter points us to. He talks about threats to entrance. Now, in threats to entrance, you'll be looking at issues like self-awareness. How am I building a sense of awareness? That's where building a personal value comes to be. That's where having your statements, it's called, so people say statement of net worth. It's not just that, that's limiting it. Having a sense of who you are. Who am I? Melody, who are you? It's not the environment that determines who you are. Your personality, who you are, is dependent on what you see as value. What do you count as value? I have 5 personal values I think I've shared with Melody here and some friends a couple of time ago. For me, family is key. For me, God is key. For me, impact is key. And for me, interaction is key. And for me to make impact, that means money must be key. What wakes me up every morning is money.
Yes.
It's money. Money drives me. I am intentional about making money. I'm intentional about making a statement that you can love God, be of value, and be wealthy. Wealthy is not in riches. Wealthy is it encapsulates everything around you. Build value. Have a sense of awareness. Know who you are. Know what you stand for. Because you'll be tossed. But having an identity of who you are, whether in business, in life, in relationships, in community, I'm glad we've spoken about community. People will speak to your authenticity if they know what you stand for. It's very important that you should build a sense of value. That's a way of attaining new entrants using Michael Porter's strategy. Build value. It's a new thing. Just surround yourself with value. Identify your value. Know what makes you tick. The power of bargaining, the power of the supply network, it's very important, building support. We spoke about community here. I was really happy we spoke about community. You cannot be an island. You cannot live life alone. Network. This is a networking event. I've met people I haven't met before. I've heard things I haven't heard before. It's a way of building yourself. It's a way of gaining an identity. You begin to identify pointers that aligns with your value. You begin to see reasons why, I am also this way, I am also this way, I see things this way, I see things that way. The threats of bias, having a personal brand. Okay, I have a sense of identity, I have a sense of awareness, I know who I am. Okay, so what next? I need to network. I need to meet people whose ideas align with my core values. I need to meet people who can help me attain my core value, who can fit into this. Then I need to build a personal brand. Personal branding is one of the most strategic things you can do for yourself. My parents named me Toluwalope Abike Amusu. Let me tell you a personal story. I used to be that child that growing up was very timid. Why? I grew up in the northern part of Nigeria. I was born in Lagos, but moved to Abuja at a very young age. Had my primary school, secondary school in the north. And you know when you are poor and you don't know you're poor? we sort of had that in my family. We were literally using sorry for those who do not know, nylon bag, leather bag, this plastic nylon that people used to wrap food. We literally used the one that was used to wrap semo the previous day. We used to wrap amala the next day. That's how poor we were poor. But we did not know we were poor. You know why? There was a sense of identity that our parents built in us. That we literally lived in an environment where people were thriving. And we did not see that as being poor. Instead, our parents instilled in us that you can be everything you want to be. We didn't even see the poverty. And so my mom, great woman, she did all she could to ensure that we went through school, went to primary, secondary. Remember, she was not educated. So it's not that she was educated. She wasn't educated. She was a stock verifier. You know, then you didn't have to be educated to get jobs and all. But there was a sense of identity she had, that she was not little. She was much more than her situation. If you're putting it in perspective, I know we're working different jobs. And you see yourself like, I'm doing this thing. But I've been here. That you are there, that's maybe the fact, it's not the truth. There is a fact and there is a truth. The truth is what you are, is the sense of identity that you have. The fact is your current circumstances. Doesn't mean that is the truth of your story. And so your ability to identify that and build a brand that is identifiable will take you the long run. Even in the midst of community, even in the midst of partnerships, a narrative identity is what you need to build. And you can build that through personal branding. I want you to ask yourself a question. What did I think I was? What do I think I am now? And what do I think I am going to be? If you can just take 30 seconds to write that. What do I point? The threat of substitutes. Now, in building a narrative identity, you need to think of differentiation. What makes you different? It's very easy to see an Omotola and say, oh, I want to be an Omotola. You may have the same set of values, you may have the same set of programs, but what will make you different? What's that thing that would make you, what's your own value that will separate you from an Omotola? Despite the fact that you have the same set of values, you constantly need to think about that. You constantly have to think of competitive rivalry. The best version of what you are is what you were yesterday. The version I see now is the version you thought of yesterday. The version you will be tomorrow is what you are thinking now. So you have to constantly learn. You have to keep on learning. You have to keep interacting. It helps to keep you in check because you are competing with yourself about what you were yesterday. Now, remember that competition is not about the next person. It's competing against your best self yesterday. It's not about any other person, it's about you. Because what you are building is a narrative identity. What Tolu wants to be. It's very interesting that when people see me, the narrative I want people to see is that she's smart, powerful, intentional, and she's a global leader. Those are things I see myself as and identify as. Any other thing you think about is projected, and so I do not own. What I think about myself is who I am, and that's my narrative identity. Avoid negative comments. They will come, but don't own them. The difference is in ownership. Do not own them. Strive to be better. Strive to build. Keep learning and unlearning. Like I said, these will keep coming. Some of the things you should also know is that affirmations are important. There is a science-proven word that words that you speak stay in the air for about 60 years and just keep ruminating around. So if you think about the kind of words you've spoken, begin to see your reality. Those are the possibilities that are around you. So fill the air, fill the atmosphere, fill your life with positive affirmations. Yeah, they may be cliche, but what's there to lose? I am strong, I am powerful, I have what it takes, I overcome, I am confident. I am the wealthiest woman in the world. Oh, Folorun Shoalakija is a joke beside me. I say that always to myself. In fact, it's on my wall. Recently, it's very funny when people say, oh, when you come to a new territory, you have to calm down, you have to observe, you have to... Last Saturday, I had my very first event in Glasgow. I'm barely 7 months in Glasgow. And I streamed it on YouTube for a first-time user. And in 24 hours, I had 68 views. That's progress. It's interesting that what you become is what you think. And until you begin to think it, you can never be it. Narrative identity. You have to build an action plan. From today, decide that I will take action, I will plan, but I will need to act on the action plan. Because that's where the problem comes. You have an action plan, you write about the action plan, but you don't execute. And then you begin to procrastinate and think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next tomorrow. If you do not plan and act, you are acting and planning to fail. So people always say, if you don't plan, you are planning to fail. No. Sometimes the planning is the acting. If you're planning and you're not taking action for it, then you're not planning at all. You may think, oh yeah, I'm a business person. Business is everyday life. You're going out, you're coming in. You're making money, you're sleeping, you're waking. Business is about your identity. Business is about what you think you are. Do not be projected. Be a project yourself that will be projected to humanity. Thank you.